Welcome to the College Football Show on the Sports Talk Line Network, where we talk sport 24/7, 365. I'm your host, Spinksy, and today with me is Nate Dowdy. Nate, welcome, mate. Thanks for coming in.
Well, it's been a while, man. I got to admit, I missed you, and I'm so glad it's not Stephen Vanover hosting.
Yeah, we all have our issues, don't we? First and foremost, before I get into this week's topics, I need to wish my mum a very happy 61st birthday. So thanks, Mum. Your present is this man right here. So thank you.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Spinksy.
That's it. All right. On this week's show, we're going to talk about a few players have been tested positive for COVID the last few days. There's been some huge news around that. The Ohio State Buckeyes have been made to sign a waiver to see if they're going to catch it or not. There's a huge war going on at the moment with the Texas Longhorns. We've got Chuba Hubbard from Oklahoma State having it out with Mike Gundy, and we've also got a few guys to talk about from the 2021 College Football Hall of Fame. So heaps to get into, so let's get started, and let's take a look at the Buckeyes first. Now, Nate, the Ohio State Buckeyes have gone back to school on the 8th, which is about Monday 2 weeks ago, and they've asked the team to sign a waiver. Now, this waiver states that the guys on the individuals on the team will do everything that they can in their power to help stop the spread of COVID. So make sure you wash your hands, make sure you're doing your social distancing, make sure you're wiping down machines and stuff like that. There was a lot of uproar at first about it because they were so concerned. They thought that this might be a way of the school getting out of trying to do the right thing. But I think this is more something that everyone's going to be doing going forward now because it's up to the individual to help stop the spread. Do you think this is a cop-out from the school, or do you think this is something that we'll start to see a lot more of?
Yeah, I mean, it's strictly something the school is doing to protect their ass.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, it's just a liability. And if anyone needs a waiver to go learn how to wash their hands, it's the University of Michigan, their rival. And if you don't believe me, folks out there, I have witnessed Jim Harbaugh pick up dog poop with his bare hands, laid out by my dog Jack. Rest in peace. So
I'm not sure how we ended up there, but we did.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's essentially the school protecting their ass, and I get why they're doing it. It gets all sorts of this complicated legal issues, something that most people in the rest of the world probably don't know a lot about because we're kind of in a sue-happy culture here in the United States. So, yeah.
Sure are, yeah. And as everything's starting to open back up over here, I think we've certainly done the right thing over here. So hopefully everyone gets back to being safe and normal again really soon. But as I woke up this morning, I'm hearing Clemson have had 23 guys test positive. LSU have had a few too. Alabama, we sort of spoke about it earlier in the show, Nate, but do you think it's sort of a good thing that's happening now rather than happening later?
Yeah, if you're going to put a silver lining on it, it is a good thing. If your athletes are going to get sick, I'd rather have it now because you wait that 10-day to 2-week period to where they can quarantine. You get a lot of these players in a position to where they're probably going to be in a situation where they're not going to be affected. They can't be affected anytime in the future.
Yeah. With
that being said, there are 3 ways you can handle this, Spinksy. First one, you could take them out back and shoot them, but unfortunately these guys have families, so that's not going to be a workable option. 2, we work out team bath day. It's where everyone on the team takes a nice little rub-a-dub-dub together and we get everybody infected. So 2 weeks later, the entire team, the coaching staff, a good bonding experience, won't have to worry about it again. And 3, this is the one I like. This is a covert operation here. If you're the University of Clemson here, you take those selected few people that were infected and you take them on a bus trip. 4 different ways. You take one down to the Coral Gables in Miami. You take another one and you take it to Columbus, Ohio, at Ohio State. and then you go and take another trip down to Tuscaloosa, and then you go ahead and you motorboat their jock straps. So not only your rivals will not only have COVID, but they will have dick COVID. It's 10 times worse.
Way worse.
Way worse.
I'm a fan of the second one as well. Like growing up, when you got chicken pox, you used to be able to spread it through all your friends. You used to have like a chicken pox party where everyone comes around and everyone gets sick. We should do that with COVID too.
Yeah. Well, you see, I never got chicken pox. I grew up in a bubble.
Did you?
And
what?
No, not like a bubble, like in a gated community kind of thing. Yeah. No, I literally grew up in a bubble.
Did you? Right. There you go. That I did not know. There you go. See, you learn something every day. You know who didn't grow up in a bubble? Mike Gundy. Now, Mike Gundy has been out there. I'm just not sure what to think about Gundy these days. So let me give you a bit of a backstory here. Gundy's been head coach for 15 years at Oklahoma State. This year, they look very promising. They were coming into the season. They had a few good guys returning. They've got one of the best running backs in the game coming back in Chuba Hubbard. And they look really solid. He comes out in April and says, I don't care about COVID. I think it's okay that our kids get it because they're young, they're fit. It's not going to matter. And we're here to play football. No one cares about some stupid virus. In May, he then turns around and says, we're going to do football as normal. We're just going to deal with it our way. And then recently, during the week, Gundy was pictured wearing an OAN shirt, which is the One American News shirt. This is the same organization. I think it started in Los Angeles. Same organization that said Black Lives Matter campaign was a farce and just a way for minorities in the US to get more rights. That is one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard. And Gundy's out there wearing this One America News shirt, which then sent half of his team down a bit of a spiral, including Hubbard, who virtually came out and said he will not turn up to train with this guy who has such racist reviews on society. Nate, is this Mike Gundy's final straw? Like, why is he still here? Why are we still talking about him?
Well, to break this down, you have to look at what a coach really is in the college system. And what a coach really is a glorified salesman. These guys are essentially trying to sell the program to a bunch of different people. That's what he is. I mean, that's what coaches are. They're more salesmen than they are actual coaching. That's what leads to your success, in other words. But this situation reminded me a lot of the Drew Brees situation, but with a little bit of a twist. Drew Brees projected his opinions about the American flag onto his teammates, probably unbeknownst to him, but he did. Where in this case, this was a man in his private life who was just pictured here. Now, with that being said, I think it should have been handled privately, and actually Chuba himself actually admitted to as much in an apology. And Spinksy, have you heard it? What's with all these apologies? It's like, isn't one enough? I mean, I've at least seen Mike Van Gundy apologized on 3 different occasions. And the important thing about this isn't about apologizing to the greater society. He has to make his own bed here with the people in that locker room. Yeah. And long term, can you actually say this is a legitimate guy you want recruiting for your team? I think the damage could be done, and I think this could be a story like the Drew Brees story that won't go away through the media.
Yeah, look, this is his 15th year with them now, so obviously they're really coming out of their shell now. I know that they've sort of taken them a long time, but this could have been their year. I think they're on the cusp of that top 4, top six definitely, but I think they could have potentially gone to the Final 4 this year. And as you were saying, that's going to hurt them going forward now, because unlike I would not want to send my kids to a school where he's the head coach. And it's the small decisions like that. Obviously, he needs to apologize for his haircut, first of all. That's not going to happen. But I just find if you want your kids to go somewhere, it's not going to be there with him now. Everyone's heard the stories about him being like a real hard taskmaster and demands an excellent coach. And I think people will go to war for him, but I don't think they will now. I think he's sort of falling off the perch a bit, and maybe it's time to just walk away.
Well, here's the interesting part of the story. People are hung up just based on the picture. Yeah. But if you remember, after Chuba said, am I saying it right, Chuba or Chuba?
Yeah, I say Chuba, but yeah.
I say Chuba. Yeah, I don't know. I probably bastarded his name. I'll call him Hubbard from now on.
Call him Hubbard. It's his, yeah.
Hubbard. Anyway, as he was saying that change needs to happen. But I didn't take it, when he said that, I didn't take it as he meant it as he needs to take his political opinions and change. Yeah. I think there's more to the story that we're not privy to here. And what I mean by that is that could have just been the final dot that connected together, that wearing that t-shirt, maybe it represented a certain attitude in the way he was coaching these players. Maybe that's why it became such a big deal to these players. So I think there is a part of his coaching style that we're not necessarily privy to, and that's why there was the need for necessary change. I don't think it was about trying to change his political affiliation, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't think this is the first time either. I think there's been a lot of other incidents that we probably don't hear of, and a lot of other things going on at training or in the weight room or whatever. The same thing, similar situation with the strength and conditioning coach at the Tigers. He made a racist remark that came out a few years back. I think it was covered up. So I think all those things are now starting to sort of come to light, and there needs to be a lot more of a culture change. Similar situation happening in Texas with the Longhorns. So the Longhorns have written they call themselves the athletic groups. There's a group of kids that play football, that they play basketball. I think there's a couple of baseballers in there too. They've written a letter to the school demanding that the school changes the names of some of the buildings around the school because they were named after Civil War generals. So I think that was the first thing they were saying. And also they wanted the school, the theme song changed of the school. Now, the theme song is a bit of a tricky one. The lyrics are along the same lines of I've Been Working on the Railroad, which was, I believe, a Civil War song back in the day. Was it, Nate?
Yeah, it must have been. It's definitely Civil War.
Yeah, so the song is called The Eyes of Texas. And the eyes, as the song goes, the eyes of Texas are upon you, which is the same as the eyes of the South are upon you, from Robert E. Lee back in the day. So I'm still very surprised that this song is still around and it sort of hasn't been changed already. But we're also dealing with a culture that lets the Redskins be in the NFL and keep their name. So are we looking at change across the whole thing here? And is it just every team should be going back and looking at ways to change the building names and change their songs and change their team culture and just trying to start again?
I don't know. It's difficult because, I mean, there's a lot of things. It's something very deeply rooted in an area in the United States, and it goes hand in hand with football in a lot of ways. Yeah. Particularly with the Texas theme song. Apparently it was used in minstrel shows and stuff like that too, completely lampooning Black Americans. So, I mean, listen, I'm not a fan of cancel culture. Let's put it that way. I think in these times right now, we have a way of the emotions turning up to 10 on a 10 scale and the logic behind it turning down. I'm not going to pretend to know the ins and outs of like the Texas fight song. Yeah. So I'm actually going to, instead of pretending I know more about something than I actually do, I'm going to turn that over to you in this case, because you're much more. I actually
found a very interesting stat. The state of Texas has roughly 11% of Black population, right? Mm-hmm. But the Longhorns football team has 72% black players. So I think if it's good enough for you to cheer them on a Saturday, it's good enough to have them in your lives and in your football teams and in your homes and in your houses and that sort of stuff. So I think it's time for that to be a lot of change when it comes to the Longhorns, the song, the organisation, anything. And I think heaps of this will come out and they'll be better for it. They might be going through a rough patch for a bit, but things will get better out there. So hopefully watch this space and they'll start to sort of do the right thing again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just a very unique time in society, and particularly American society. So it's honestly, we're going to see, I don't want it to be the kind of situation where we're overreacting and then 10 years from now, all of a sudden we're like, really? What was that over? I mean, it's kind of overkill at the moment. And I personally would like to see more nuance involved in these situations. And and this is going to sound strange coming from me. I hate polarization. And it's funny because I'm about as polarizing as you could get. So basically I'm saying I hate myself.
I hate you too, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Right. So we've also got this week, they released the 2021 College Football Hall of Fame shortlist. Now, it's not much of a shortlist. It's a very, 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 very long list. They've actually named 78 guys and 7 coaches. So a little stat I've found here, there's been, through the 150 years of college football, there's been 5.4 million players. That is just astounding. I can't believe that they've actually had that many. And so over the years, over that 5.4 million, there's 1,027 in the Hall of Fame. That is 0.02%. Now, you know I love stats, and that one just got me excited. That was great. So it is an absolute honour and a privilege to be part of the College Football Hall of Fame, and that is so hard to actually get into. The criteria is unbelievable. And so a few guys on the list this year, you got Champ Bailey, you've got Matt Kavanagh, you got Ken Dorsey, you got Kevin Falk, and Darren Sproles as well. Nate, what stood out to you about this year's sort of list?
Well, first and foremost, you got to look at someone like a Ken Dorsey. I know it's not necessarily a popular name that's going to spring up because you got guys like Champ Bailey who had Hall of Fame worthy NFL careers. When you look at someone like a Ken Dorsey, who was arguably a part of one of the greatest college football teams of all time, and he was the quarterback there. So I'd like to see someone like him get a lot more recognition, whereas you could just point to someone like an Anthony Munoz, and you could say, well, they were a great Hall of Fame NFL football player. But I like to see some of the guys who didn't have a storybook NFL career get some love.
Yeah, I found it. I was going through the criteria, and it is incredibly hard to actually get in. I find these days. How do I word this properly? Is it too easy to get into the NFL Hall of Fame? And by that I don't mean obviously they're just handing it out, but I think the criteria for this is just so hard for a coach. A coach becomes eligible three seasons after retirement or immediately following retirement after the age of 70. He must have been a football coach for a minimum of 10 years and coached at least 100 games at 600 or higher. There'd be hardly any coach out there that would actually have actually done that, especially in the NFL. Certainly not Jason Garrett.
Well, I'm going to tell you this much. I'm getting you. Thank goodness Tom McAllister isn't here, but I'm grabbing my microphone right now and I'm saying, listen, Eli Manning is considered to be a first ballot NFL Hall of Famer. There is something wrong here. Something needs to change. We need to adapt in the NFL level a more strict.
Yeah, it should be, man.
Yeah, I mean, the Hall of Fame deserves to be for great players, not for good people that have good accolades. Great players.
Exactly. And that's what I think, obviously, with the NFL, you can't change that now because you've already got so many guys in there. You just can't like, take them out. So and I think the college has done the right thing because it's so difficult to get in that you have to virtually have changed the game. There's one of the Hall of Fames over here they call it an immortal. So you can be called an immortal, and it's like there's 9 or 10 of them now, but you have to physically have made the game change around you. So you were that strong and that good that teams had to change the way the game was done to stop you because you're that strong. And so I think doing it that way, it gives it more emphasis on you being that awesome. Whereas I think the NFL is just like, oh, yeah, you get it one, you get one, you get one. And the last few years, I understand that some of the guys who have been sort of getting in have been awesome, but they also tend to have a lot of just tokens in there. So it's different.
Yeah, and you guys have the coolest name, Immortal.
Immortal.
That's way cooler than Hall of Fame and having some fruity jacket that you put on. No. Yeah, no, you get the immortal thing just sounds like something that came like off of a Viking sacrifice. You are now immortal. You know?
Good. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like there was a few names on the list actually in the College Hall of Fame list. Obviously, there was a few I didn't really know either, but they've just Bob Golick, the linebacker from Notre Dame in 78-79. He broke a single game tackling record of 26 tackles in a game. That's awesome.
Yeah, I can't believe even being a Golden Domer, he didn't get in. I thought that like had some escalated privilege.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which, Joe Montana isn't even in.
That I did not know.
Yeah, he's a Golden Domer as well. So I mean, maybe not. Maybe they.
It is
and it's interesting because he's a perfect example of a guy who got drafted in the 3rd round, but had the storybook almost perfect NFL career, but he was drafted in the 3rd round, so there wasn't like a guy who was lighting up the college football scene necessarily.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I was trying to find that stat earlier, but I couldn't actually find it. Guys who are in the Hall of Fame for both, but I couldn't find it. So I'll bring that stat next week. But yeah, looks like we'll have a few interviews during the week, which I won't tell everyone about. I'll wait until next week, and we'll see that. But Nate, thank you for being on the show today, mate. It's been awesome. Tell the good people where they can find you and about your new show.
Well, you could go find me at No Remorse Sports. It's wherever it is on the screen. It's right there for me, but it's somewhere else for you. It means it's over there. So just go click that thing and join the millions of people in queue right now. But I'm going to be doing, if you didn't check out my video, it's only 7 minutes long from the last week before. I cover the kneeling during the national anthem. And Drew Brees' part in it. Next week, I'm going to go balls deep into several different episodes, and you got to check it out.
Very nice. Righto, don't forget to rate, review, comment, subscribe, like, hashtag, whatever you guys do out there, do your thing. Go find me on Twitter at SpinksyNFL right here. I think that's what it is still. You'll find out. Righto, guys, thanks for coming. Say hi to your mum. Hooroo.